to another video. My name is Bart, and today we'll be doing a lap guide in the FIF 4 car on iRacing at Lime Rock Park. Let's get to the hot lap. Alright, so heading down the main straight now at Lime Rock Park into turn 1. One of the trickier corners on the track, if not the trickiest. We're going to be braking, but not really in the straight line because this car is quite light and the brake's quite good because of that. You're braking so late that we're turning into the corner as we're braking, so this makes it quite tricky. So you see a reference, you've got these the 2 on the 1 board on the left, which is quite useful. Braking between these two is pretty good as a start. I think you can brake at the 1 board, but you won't necessarily go off the track, but maybe it's a bit too deep, and we'll talk about that in a second when we get further into the first corner. But the main thing here is just, obviously, let's be on the left-hand side of the track and use all the track, and also try and be efficient in a straight line. See, I'm going to point the car in just a fraction. I'm going to get straight for a sec, try and be as efficient as possible on the brakes initially, but then see straight away I'm having to turn in. It's quite cambered, turn 1 as well. So it's not a corner when we're going to go running all the way out to the white line on the outside of the corner, and it's not a corner where we're going to be turning in late either. We need to get into this camber and try and shorten the distance as well on the inside and just get where the grip is, so we can focus on carrying speed. Because of that, like I said, if you look in the bottom left, you can see it brake-wise, very short peak. Peaked already starting to bleed out because I'm having to load the car laterally with the steering, right? So in what we call the combined entry phase now, if you sustain the braking, keep holding that brake pressure, you're going to lock up. Super easy on a corner like this in this car. You might find a lot of times, like, I cannot turn to the corner, it's just locking up, If that's happening, bring your braking back a fraction and just remind yourself, okay, I can get the braking done in a straight line, but as soon as I have to turn in, I have to bleed out of the brake. Yeah, they have really good control of the brake in this car. So you can see I'm almost down to like 20% brake pressure, something like that. And then we're only just changing down to 4th gear, off the brake now. Focus on rolling speed through the corner. It's a tricky one. You want to kind of brake in a fair way because we want to just keep that rotation going. It's trail braking, which is, holding the brake a bit to keep the weight on the nose of the car to give us more front grip later into the corner. Because it's open diff, it will just rotate when you're coasting though as well. But yeah, down to 4th. You can see I'm just kind of going on the brake a little bit just to make sure I don't go too deep, just kind of managing the brake. Hard to be perfect here. You're just going to have to... The main thing is just, like I said, it's not so much braking super late here. It's how much speed can I carry in on the brakes. So you want to brake and not be braking too much. So don't be on the limit trying to lock, on the limit of locking up necessarily on the way, and just try to carry that speed in, maintaining brake pressure into the corner, and also get as tight as possible. So we want to be on the white line here on the inside, run out a bit. See, we're about 2/3 to the edge of the track at this point. I find 3rd gear helps as well. Just a little shift down to 3rd will just help rotate the car. You can do it in 4th. It's just this helps a bit with rotation and a little bit of just acceleration on exit the corner as well. So a late shift to 3rd. Right now in the middle of the corner, as soon as you shift down to 3rd, you should be able to hit the throttle now. Kind of our slowest point just before you come up to this second inside curb. And you see I don't quite get back down to the inside. But the main thing is that we just use all the track on exit. So you don't need to hit that apex. You can, but the most important thing is we're just carrying the speed, as I showed through turn 1, and using all the track on exit so we get a good exit there. All right, so up to fourth gear now. Not going all the way to the right-hand side of the track, most of the way, pretty close to the white line on the right-hand side. It's not the most important thing. The way the camber is here, again, a bit like turn 1, we would need to get tight for turn 2. And if you try and go all the way to the right, you're probably going to be too late turning into this left. And quite often when you do that, you lose control of the rear on the exit, or you just end up taking too wide a line, or not being as efficient on the entry. So you can see here, get into the bowl of the camber on the inside of the track here. You see I'm about halfway to the inside, I'd say at this point. Very soft brake. So how much speed can you roll here? So this is a corner where you want to try and delay the brake as much as possible and make it as soft as possible so that you're not too tight too early. Because if you end up on this inside curve, or basically on the grass around here, then you're really tight. You're going to turn, you're going to pick up the throttle because you're like, well, I have to speed up because I'm just too tight to the inside of the track and I don't want to just crash into the curb or go on the grass and get off track. So I'm going to pick up the throttle. That's going to force the car out to the right over here, and you're going to end up tightening up this next section, which is the straight we need to get a good exit out of. So we're going to compromise the next bit too much. So this is where it's important to actually push this entry and carry speed here. So I like to maintain fourth gear. You can take in third. I think fourth's just better because the rear is doing a lot of work here, and in third gear it's quite on the limit, whereas turn 1 we wanted that bit of rotation. Here the rear's already working quite hard, so I find being in fourth gear allows you to be a lot more aggressive on the throttle, and it's just a lot more consistent. So I pick up the throttle just as I go towards this inside curb. Use the inside curb again, that'll help you turn the car, and you just want it for distance as well. Try and hold it round as much as possible. Again, I can't get all the way to the white line, but this is more about carrying momentum as much as possible. Nothing's perfect, but just trying to compromise the right amount. And then this should be flat. So your judgment needs to be for this section, can I take this corner flat, right? So generally here, you either just want to clip the inside curb like I've done here. That'll help turn the car a little bit, but it does kind of pick up the inside wheel, and sometimes you get a little bit of wheel spin. Only barely clip it if you're going to touch it, or don't touch it at all and just run into use the camber as much as possible and go on the white line. But yeah, that should be flat. So the question is, how much can I push the previous left while still taking this next right-hander flat, right? So I could have picked up the throttle a little bit earlier. I would have been a car width further right, let's say, and I wouldn't have been able to take this right-hander flat, or I would have had a ton of lock on. I would have just scrubbed the fronts and had no exit speed. So we need to prioritize this exit first. Can you take this flat nicely? See, just on the limit there, using all the track, and then just build up. So if it's too easy to take flat and you're not having to work the whole time to reposition and carry the speed and be really accurate through here, be smooth on the steering, then just keep pushing it until it's too hard. And if it's too hard to take this flat, then you need to prepare the next the corner before more, and try and slow down and wait to pick up throttle through the left-hander of turn 2. So now onto this, let's say, back straight section. Just keep the wheel straight, shortest distance to the next corner. I like to go over to the right a little bit. The reason for that is because just to open up this entry a bit. So we've got this chicane coming up. The main part of the chicane is this right-hander. And if we can go here, but if we go over here, I find we can use more of this, more space on this entry curb. So if you just go over to the right, it's only a little subtle thing, but go over towards the right-hand side of the track a little bit more, then position like this, and then you can see, here I am using all the entry curb. It allows me to kind of turn off a wider point and open up this corner. It's just a fraction, but, these small differences, they add up over a race, especially in a car like this, or even in a super tight qualifying around a track like this. Very heavy braking zone, only proper sustained heavy braking on the track. So you can see as soon as I hit the brake pedal, that's 80% plus sustain that straight line braking, which again is another reason why I like to go in from this side, because you can stay straighter for longer rather than kind of pointing, having to turn in. Down to third gear, as you turn in, should be able to maximize all that curb on the entry. Very easy to lock the inside front here, so make sure you bleed out fairly quick as you turn in. You can see that in the bottom left. Bleed out very quickly as soon as I change down to third gear and start turning to the corner. Aim to get your right tyre as close as possible to this red sausage. If you hit these, they really mess up the car. You can potentially get damage. You usually lose a lot of that time. So try and avoid that if possible. Yeah, you can see get nice and tight to that sausage curb, and then what you want to do is aim to have your throttle pick up as early as possible, which in this case is pretty much as you meet or go past this inside curb. You see that I just had to have a fractional lift because I carried maybe half a k or part of a k too much speed there. So I had to have a fractional lift out to 98% throttle or something like that. The main thing though is just, like I said, early throttle pickup and try to carry as much speed as possible up to that point. Just about just clipping the edge of that curve. That's as much as you want to take and maximizing all the track there. Okay, now again, just try and keep the wheels straight. Just not trying to put any load onto the car. All these little things do add up, like I said, on a short lap like this. And now let's make it so we meet the edge of the track here. This is really important. I feel like people don't maximize the track usage on this corner very much. It's quite a tricky quick left. In this car, fortunately, it's not too hard because we're low powered. I have a fair amount of grip, but it can be quite tricky to be accurate here. My biggest advice for this corner, apart from let's get over to the left-hand side of the track and actually use all of the space on entry, you don't really have an entry reference to turn in from if you're the kind of person that really relies on that kind of thing. Sorry. You got to turn in before the white line kind of deviates here. But the main thing I'd say is look a long way around the corner. Do not look to meet the apex curb here. If you do that, you'll almost certainly hit the inside curb because you'll turn in and you need to go tighter, or you'll turn in, hit the white line here and just understeer off. So see in a second, you need to look to meet the white line around here somewhere. So really try and look around to apex there. That's the best help I can give as advice for this corner, is just try and extend your entry vision where you're looking to meet the inside white line there just before the at the start of this service road on the right. Should be flat out. I think following would be tricky to take flat, but certainly in clean air is flat out. On the fixed setup, use all the track on exit. Not much to say here, just smooth on the steering. It's that kind of corner. You can dip a wheel in the grass and get away with it sometimes with off tracks here, but it's certainly not faster. Then just keep the car in a straight line. Don't turn in too early. Some people kind of do that here. I don't know why. You can see as we go into the compression, that's when we want to start turning in now. And again, similar to the second last corner, I find that best help here should be a relatively easy flat corner, but just for the sake of being smooth and not bumping the curbs and things like that, aim to meet the apex about here, so it's not too early. So you can see there. Car bottom out a bit, just be smooth on the wheel, and that's the end of your lap at Line Prop Park. So that takes us to the end of the video. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. And be sure to check out the Coach Dave Academy Discord, which is in the video description. I've been Bart, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.